Texas Tech defensive end TYREE Wilson is one of my favorite players in this draft. I think he's scratching the surface of what he will become on the next level. He is one of those guys that is big, physical, and can really rush the passer. He's raw though. He has to learn the techniques of the position, but I think he can do that. I think he will get to be where he's a dominant pass rusher. You pop on that tape and you see a guy who is using his power to speed to get after the quarterback, and he's a big physical guy. There aren't a lot of guys like that in the NFL. If you're looking for a guy whose best football is in front of him, TYREE Wilson of Texas Tech is that guy. He reminds me of Preston Smith. When Preston Smith was with Washington and now with Green Bay, power player who can rush the passer. That's who TYREE Wilson is. It wouldn't shock me to see him be the best edge player in this class, and that means even better than Will Anderson.
Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer is the top tight end prospect, in my opinion, in the 2023 draft class. He can do everything well. He's got tremendous hands. He's a solid route runner that has a little shake to him. And as far as run blocking goes, he is a mauler at the line of scrimmage. Now, his testing numbers were okay. He's not going to be the fastest tight end, but I think we've seen throughout the years, you don't have to be the fastest in order to have an impact. My comp for him is another former Notre Dame tight end, Cole Kmet, who's currently with the Chicago Bears. Both those tight ends are able to split out as a wide receiver and run routes. You can bring in, put their hand in the dirt and be at the point of attack in the run game. They can really do it all. And from day one, he's going to be a starter and a Pro Bowl caliber player.
Let's talk a little Alabama defensive lineman, BYRON Young. Great size, going to come into the NFL somewhere in that 3 to 310 range in terms of his weight. One of the more physical defensive linemen in all of the SEC, and that's saying something in that conference. He's a pure run stuffer. Nobody questions his ability in that area. I think one thing people would like to see more of is coming off the edge and getting more pressure on the quarterback. He's going to have to prove that he can consistently do that at the NFL level. Started 13 games in 2022, and if you're looking for a comp, I think he's most like Devon Godchaux out of the 2017 NFL draft. So that's everything BYRON Young, the defensive lineman out of Alabama.
Cincinnati wide receiver Trey Tucker is a smaller wide receiver with great explosiveness. At the NFL Combine, he ran the 40-yard dash in 4.4 seconds with a 1.48 second 10-yard split. The former Ohio State track champion does a good job of flattening his routes across the field and setting up his breaks with quick footwork. According to True Media, he had a 7.6% drop rate last season. The wide receiver lacks the wingspan and the hand size to finish plays outside of his frame. Tucker will primarily operate out of the slot as a role player in the NFL with the versatility to return punts and kicks. We have compared him to current Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Calvin Austin III.
Another Maryland corner who made his splash in the pre-draft process, Jakorian Bennett, has everybody's hair on fire after running a 4.3 40-yard dash at the Combine, and that comes as no surprise because Bennett was an all-state track athlete in high school who really didn't even flourish until later in his football career. Bennett started at the JUCO level and then finally burst onto the scene at Maryland in 2021 when he led the Power 5 with 16 passes defended. He's got speed and he's got the ball skills to go with it, which is why we've got him penciled in as a great comp for Green Bay Packers cornerback Jair Alexander. NFL teams are going to love the speed and they're going to love what he can do when he's in coverage and the ball is in the air, and that's why Jakorian Bennett was flying up draft boards prior to draft day.
There used to be a thing called pocket passers in the NFL, and they're becoming dinosaurs, extinct, if you will, when everybody wants a runner. But if you do want a throwback, look no further than Aiden O'Connell out of Purdue. He will stretch the field vertically. In fact, so much so, we talk about C.J. Stroud as a top 3 pick. Aiden O'Connell led the Big Ten. That's right, he had more passing yards than C.J. Stroud in a pass-happy system that shows me he's capable of coming in the next level, taking on that massive playbook, and being able to distribute the football from the pocket to a lot of those playmakers. My comp for him, maybe the greatest backup quarterback of all time, Chase Daniel, who's made $1 gazillion holding the clipboard. I think Aiden O'Connell could find himself in a similar situation, and if he's in the right spot, he can make a lot of money as a backup and maybe a spot starter if he's needed to call it into action.
Christopher Smith, coming from the national champions, University of Georgia, the Bulldogs, 5'11", 190, 194, depending on what time of the day it is. A big-time contributor for the guys in the secondary there in Athens. 3 interceptions, 3 PBUs, 36 tackles. You talk about a loaded defense. It was hard to really eat, but he ate when given the opportunity to do so. I love his leadership. A hybrid type of safety, can play either spot. I love how he communicates. And one thing I love about Mr. Smith, his ability to dissect a play based on the pre-snap alignment. That tells me he watches a lot of tape because he sees things happen before they actually happen, and that's why he's always in positions to be able to be a big-time playmaker for his defense. And I saw that a lot in Athens. I think I will see the same thing coming from Mr. Christopher Smith in the next level in the National Football League. Notable player comp for Mr. Christopher Smith, John Johnson III. I see the same skill sets coming from Mr. Christopher Smith.
Next to Jade Silvera, the defensive lineman out of Arizona State, reminds me of Anthony Adams. He came into the combine at 6'1" and 307 pounds, and while that's short for a defensive tackle, he uses his low center of gravity to his advantage. He's built like a bowling ball, is stout at the point against interior offensive linemen, and he does a good job using his hands to quickly get off blocks and be a disruptive force in the backfield. It's all the more impressive because he's limited athletically. He's not twitched up or explosive, but he gets the most out of his ability. He's also much better against the run than the pass, and he'll sometimes struggle to get off blocks when rushing the passer. He'll need to develop some counter moves in the NFL. That said, he's a solid rotational player whose high motor will make him a favorite of defensive coaching staffs at the next level. Drake Thomas, linebacker at NC State, has a lot of Malcolm Rodriguez in his game. No one plays like they love football more than Drake Thomas. Undersized by NFL standards, he plays with an edge every snap, through every whistle. No one will ever question this man's toughness either. He played through a pectoral injury in 2020, and the only issue with his game is that he's 5'11", 228 pounds. The lack of prototypical size and athleticism is why he didn't get a combine invite, but if he can stay healthy, there's no doubt he'll spend his NFL career proving doubters wrong. Put another way, if he was 6'2", 235, he'd be a day 2 pick all day long. He can be too aggressive at times coming downhill, but if you're a coach, you'd rather tell a player whoa than sick him. Thomas embodies that every time he steps on the field. He'll be a special team from day one, and don't be surprised if he finds his way onto the field as a linebacker by sheer force of will.
McClendon Curtis at 6'5", 331 pounds out of Chattanooga does a great job in using his length to gain an advantage on both ends of offense. Reminds me a lot of RASHAAD Coward when he made a transition from defensive lineman to offensive lineman in the NFL. He also does a great job in raking guys up out of the paint in the run game. When you're able to do that, you're going to find yourself on the field a lot, which also gives you some guard tackle flexibility. Now, where he has to get better, his pad level gets a little bit too high. He has to find a way to lower that pad level on a more consistent basis. Otherwise, these shorter defensive linemen that have leverage will get to his chest first and make him stalemate right there at the point of attack.